So my name is Domenico Dentoni. I've been leading the project in GCP4 called Organizing Business Models for Smallholder Resilience. So our focus clearly was on business models. And we focused particularly in Zimbabwe and Malawi, our work. And what I will try to do in these few minutes is to give you one specific story really grounded in what we have learned in Malawi. So in Malawi, we have been studying dairy communities, and basically we were really focusing at the intercross between the communities and basically a business model that has been started in the 80s. And the business model really grounds on the pass-on program. In dairy, I think many of you are aware of how it works. It's basically programs that start from from introducing a few cows, from the outside, and basically as the cows are born, are passed to other people within a community. So the basic model is that it grows as more cows are grown. Now, within that context that's present from the 80s, there has been some climate-smart agricultural interventions that have been notable in the past 10 years. And that has to do in particular with introducing better quality checks in the milk that of course comes from the cows. The idea from a systemic perspective of having better quality checks has to do with the fact that if we have better milk, more safe, more with a higher quality, then we can also have farmers that have more funds to invest, for example, in improved fodder, which is in particular very important for both climate adaptation and mitigation. So now what is really interesting is that within Malawi, and in particular within the central region of Malawi, in different milk bulking groups, this intervention that was really thought out from this systemic perspective had very different outcomes, which I'm going to outline quickly. In milk bulking groups that are really taking place around villages that had a prevalence of ethnic groups of Ngoni, what we have seen after ethnographic work in the past 3 years is that the problems related to mastitis with cows have actually been continuing to really make the sour milk sour, meaning that the quality checks were bringing to reject most of the milk that was needed for making the system work on a local scale. Transport issues, in particular from where the cows really are up to the tank, which sometimes is 5 to 15 km. That was a very important bottleneck in the model. Third, the electricity. So electricity was definitely a constraint in terms of the tank sometimes having no electricity. And around that, what we have noticed is that sometimes the devil is really in the detail, such as because of the transport taking between 5 and 15 km, and the temperature being really hot during the day, you may have problems when you bring the milk to the tank, that you can do it only in the night, because during the day it's too hot, the milk deteriorates as you bring it to the source. So, but if you do it by the night, then you need to have electricity so that you can actually see the outcome of the quality check. So these are small details, but they may have an important ripple effect. Let me give you an example of what happens in different communities that have a Chewa majority. Because of the Chewa culture, what we have learned is that jealousy in villages is a very important factor that needs to be considered. So when someone starts having 2 or 3 cows and having space for investing, actually that's an issue for neighbors, because the disparities within communities are very important. That means that there seems to be a trade-off, some issues that has to do with paradoxes between the feelings of brotherhoods that are important in communities, and and actually having investment on climate smart agriculture. So this basically leads us to a conclusion. The conclusion is that what we've seen as outcomes of our project is that there is a growth or some aspects of scaling in terms of informal market with CSA intervention. But this is much slower than what the ones that thought about the intervention actually took place. So that I think that the final consideration that we may have here is to what extent are we open to the fact that communities are adapting the CSA model that we have in mind, or what we consider as a failure or a success of a CSA, depending on how much has been adapted by by different local communities. I'll pause it here, and I look forward for a discussion later with all of you.